Great, everyone. Thanks for joining in. This is a little bit of a plurality dialogues community, which is my community, Jaspreet Bindra on Thinkly, with a little bit of a difference. There's usually Vivek, under whose able guidance we are able to do all these talks very well. This time, unfortunately, it's me. But the only redeeming feature is that I've got a fantastic guest with me, who I'm pretty sure is going to take up most of the burden. Kuntal is joining us from Dubai, which is, I believe, Kuntal, almost as hot as Delhi is right now.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. It's a little, as long as you're inside, you're okay. Once you're out, you forget where you are.
yeah. So Kuntal is an amazing AI entrepreneur. You can look up her profile on LinkedIn. But today she joins us as an expert on AI. And you know what? We were really looking for an expert on AI this time to work, so that both of us could chat together. Because Kuntal, I personally think that the last week, which went by, was probably the biggest week in AI since the
Yeah.
legendary week of November 30th, when of 2022,
Three.
when ChatGPT was launched. What do you think?
No, I thought for a second you were going to say 2023 because that was also pretty momentous with Sam Altman getting ousted, right? So that was drama, but no, I think definitely last week was extremely exciting. In fact, I feel if you had anything that you needed to share with the world but didn't want it to be on anybody's radar, you should have published it last week if you're in the tech space, because then you're done with it, right? But jokes aside, I mean, I think what happened between OpenAI and Google just tells you like how this is how AI is going to take over our world, and it kind of like it kind of now makes you start thinking, what is it that I kind of need to be thinking about as a user, as a business, and if you haven't already, right? Hopefully you have, but I think now it's just the it's so near. It's just so real as well that if
Yeah.
you're not, you truly are like missing out on what's going to happen. It's not a matter of if anymore, I feel, for people, but it's more a matter of when and how do I kind of now incorporate what's happening.
No, lovely. We look forward to chat more about that. But I thought that, just for the people who have been living under various rocks, let me just recount what last week was all about. So, the two big things that happened, and then the third one, which almost got lost. As you said, if you had to do something and get lost in tech, this was the week. So, obviously, the biggest one was last Monday, just around a week, almost exactly a week back.
Yeah,
Seems like a few months though. When OpenAI released its new flagship model, which is ChatGPT 4.0, and then the very next day, Google had its big I/O event, in which
right.
Kuntal, I believe that I think it should be called the Google AI event from now on, because the 110-minute event had AI being said 121 times. People count it. People are fairly
Yeah,
useless these days. But
yeah,
those were the two big things, and we're going to talk about those. And many people say that these were timed to be. In fact, OpenAI just did this 24 hours earlier just to steal the news cycle, etc.
yeah, exactly.
And the big thing, probably the biggest thing that got lost, almost lost in the whole thing was Ilya Sutskever, who's the uh, who was one of the co-founders of OpenAI and chief
Yeah,
scientist, and they say the big brains behind, and who headed their alignment team, which is their security team,
yeah,
finally resigned. Those noises had been happening for a while, but he finally resigned. That, I think, will have as profound, if not more profound, implications
yeah,
going forward. So, just to set the stage for everyone, we're not going to talk specifically about which features got launched and what happened and whatever. Kuntal and I are going to talk much more about the implications, societal implications. What is it going to do in the future, etc. But
yeah.
I thought, just to put everyone on the same page, and before I kind of hand over for your comments, Kuntal, Selvin, if you could just bring up the first slide, of the slide deck that we have, because that gives like a very high level view of
Yeah.
of those 2 days, really. So look, someone has very nicely captured the top five announcements for each. So obviously GPT-4o was launched, which made voice mode for all, and I have a lot to talk about that, and I'm sure you do too, Kuntal. And then there was the ChatGPT app, desktop app for Mac and Windows, which could do a lot of things. Uh, Advanced features, GPT Store for all, and then a big 50%, drop in price, 5x higher rate limits. And then Google quickly followed, and they kind of increased the context window even bigger than what OpenAI has. But the interesting thing there was that how they kind of looked at each and every property that they have, whether it be search or photos or Android and everything, and kind of infused AI into that. They had some new demos, I might say so, not launches,
Right.
which was Project Astra, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and lots of new models for voice, vision, video, music, bunches of things. So it was all kind of out there, lots of stuff being talked about. What was your quick couple of takeaways, Kuntal, from all of this?
So, you know,
And we can take the slide outside.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's fine. It actually also serves as a reference point because there was so much that was
Okay.
happening last week.
Okay.
No, but I think first of all, even though you know that voice is a direction that AI is going to go into, seeing what was happening on the stage with OpenAI was just marvelous, right? Because it literally, went from a chatbot, which, by the way, sounds very like not that exciting, to suddenly an actual human conversation, right? And you knew this was happening, you knew this was going to happen, but now seeing it and seeing the way it was flowing, I mean, was just beautiful, for lack of a better word. Scary as well, and I think we can dive into that. But it was just amazing to see how it was a natural interaction, like how you and I were are talking right now. Right? Who knows? One day maybe our avatars will be having this kind of a conversation. But it just shows you that it's there, right? I think the other thing for me was also the I guess the difference in how both the days were, right? Like one kind of it also in some ways reminded me of of the Mac versus PC ad in a way. Back in the day, it had that element to it, so that was actually interesting to watch. But then at the end of the day, Google is a giant, and OpenAI doesn't have all the trappings that Google does as such. But I also feel from my perspective, I don't know if you had seen the Google I/O last year, that you kind of suddenly like sudden and I've been a big I'm a big Google fan, right? I mean, like from my days in the valley and everything, I just have a massive amount of admiration for how Google operates. But at that point you're suddenly like, oh, are they behind? Are they losing the plot? What's happening? And they didn't seem to have their game on. uh, this IO, I mean, I just felt like, they were back. Right now, I think the big question is Google does a lot of these lovely demos and then things don't happen. So that's like a question. But at least, I felt that they were showing the world again that, hey, listen, this is happening and we're taking front and center in terms of how we are going to be addressing AI in our world, right? It may not be the same as OpenAI, but we are addressing it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Great. No, Kuntal, that's right. Why don't we do this? Maybe let's kind of talk about the OpenAI bit a little bit, and then let's move to the Google bit. And if
yeah.
we have time, we'll definitely move to Ilya, or we can tackle that next time. But the OpenAI bit was interesting, as you said. It was short, it was snappy.
Yeah.
In fact, it was very interesting to see how the settings were different too. The OpenAI had this very warm living room kind of setting. Google had this big stage with
Yes.
some influencer playing who's been widely banned before that. But anyway, we'll come to Google. But I know for people who saw the video or didn't see the video, as Kuntal said, I think the big thing was, in fact, bigger, if I may say so, than GPT-5. Okay,
Yeah.
was the fact that the friction between a human and machine was considerably reduced, the distance. The thing about generative AI, especially, is that it's not just a technology or a trend, it's a profound shift in how humans and machines would interact. And we
Yes.
started seeing that, in some of it. And, we started saying please and thank you to, the bots that we used, etc. But in voice and in other modes, there was still, you still felt you were talking to a machine. There was a lag, it had, if there was no emotion, there was no
Filter.
intonation. Yeah, exactly. Now here, for people who've seen the video, when the guy was breathing loudly, you could it could sense that it was.
Yeah.
I know you have some to talk about it, so I'll leave it to you. But the bot
No, but I've changed my views, so don't worry.
the bot seemed to be flirting with the man there, and so bunches of such things which made that friction go away, and that was I think the most magical part. And therefore, I
Yeah.
think the one big takeaway that I had from the 4.0 thing was precisely this: that the distance between humans and machines has kind of considerably reduced. And so,
Yeah.
us working with machines as co-workers, or well, flirting with machines as potential partners, or just conversing in a social setting with machines,
Yeah.
it just seems now very, very, very possible. And that breakthrough, and then that led to a few use cases, which I'll show a couple of videos on
Yeah.
about that. But that for me was the big takeaway. Kuntal.
It's
I don't know
big.
what you thought.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, I think if you just think about it, right? If we take an analogy of my favorite other app is WhatsApp, you see the number of voice notes people actually leave in WhatsApp for each other. I mean, they're communicating through those voice notes. It's not even a call because you don't want to do a call. You don't want to kind of bother typing, or maybe you can't type that well, right? People can talk more better than they can typing, or for that matter even reading, for a large segment of our population. And or you people can't read these days, they don't want to read, right? It's a
Unfortunately.
huge issue that everyone has. Like, any owner of a site will complain about it the minute you come in front of them, right?
Yeah.
Now just imagine what this does, because I'm far more happier, leaving, I'm far more happier chatting, right? Or I'm far more happier talking than I am typing or reading. You see, and that's what I'm saying. I see the popularity of voice notes on WhatsApp as a way of communicating. You can just kind of understand what this shift can bring in if I'm now just having a conversation and talking. So I think it was marvelous, you know, and also, like, I mean, all said and done, you're right. Like, the inflection, the range of emotions, that just makes it seem very, very natural. And I know I had a very strong opinion about the Valley, like giggly girl, etc. But then I was thinking about it. If I had to have a personal assistant, I'd like to have someone who's upbeat and positive around. I don't want like a robotic thing talking to me every day. I'd want to have that level of positivity. We're all looking for, positivity and moments of happiness, right? So the one thing I can control, I'll control it.
Lovely. No, since we are talking OpenAI and Microsoft, Bill Gates very famously has recently put a Gates note out saying that AI is the new UI.
Yeah.
And that seemed to start happening. And Satya Nadella then went on to say that that earlier on we had to learn a computer's language to make it understand and do
Yeah.
stuff. But now
Yes.
a computer has to learn our language. Okay, and that's what was really happening. I mean, this is all natural language, and I think many people underestimate what this really means, because it's this huge next step in computing and
It's
beyond
math.
computing, in a sense, where, as I keep on repeating, humans and machines would kind of work together. And sometimes I even believe, Kuntal, just sticking my neck out, that singularity, I think, and another something which you're fond of, is actually going to be not about one machine upstaging a human being in everything, but a human and machine working together, upstaging human beings in everything. So that's what I thought, and I do want to show a couple of things. But if there's anything you want to add, or you want to see those use cases first, how do you want to do
Yeah,
this?
let's see those use cases first. I'm
Yeah,
pretty excited to kind of see what you put together, and then let's talk about it.
yeah. So, my friend Selvin, if you can play slide 2, please. And I thought this was quite amazing. The education one,
That
slide
was
2.
pretty,
Yeah,
that was unbelievable.
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right? Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really,
Remember the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So, I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Well done.
Yeah. So, I mean, thoughts, Kuntal?
I love this. And instantly my mind obviously went to how ed tech will change. I also kind of thought about it. I'm sure you must have gone through this, Jaspreet. If you're even loosely associated with the word tech, you instantly become customer support for anybody and everybody around you. How do I post a picture on Instagram? How do I, upload PDFs from all the uncle and aunties that, might be around you, right? I instantly was thinking like, wow, like, I could just like now show them that this is what you do and this is how you figure stuff out on your own. But more importantly, I think now you're suddenly, with you're with an experience that has no limits on time and no limits on patience, right? Like if anyone, like a tutor or a helper or an assistant, a human assistant, there is a limit on time or patience that they will have. With this, I mean, that boundary is gone, right? And just the implications of that, like how we could level up, or how we could, I don't want to say upskilling, that sounds terrible, but how you could level up or how you could just learn things constantly changes radically, and it's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. So, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no,
Uh,
no.
but the great thing here was that it wasn't telling the answer. That would be
Exactly.
the easiest thing to do, right? So it
Exactly.
was really a personalized tutor. It was actually telling you how to do stuff. And
Yes.
you're right. I mean, I wish, I frankly wish I could understand half of the stuff that I was taught. And therefore, we all used to go to tuition classes because,
Yes.
there was nothing at that time to do. And now, with something like this, a
Yeah.
highly personalized tutor, as you said, at tech. I mean, I would actually, if I was to open a school or a university today, I would have to start from grounds up in terms of how and that university would be, because I think the old ways of pedagogy or teaching
Have gone.
are going to go away. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, my coolest demo is the next one. Okay,
Okay.
and so Selwyn, if we can play this, the next one, and as it comes up, this is actually Greg Brockman, slide
Okay.
37. Okay, one of the co-founders, as we know,
Yeah.
of OpenAI, who's
Yeah.
having some absolute fun by having two AIs talk to each other. So,
Yeah.
if we can play the video, please.
All right, let's get started.
Great. Hello there, new AI friend. I'm O. Ready to explore the world through your eyes? What are we looking at today?
Hi-yo, we're looking at a person wearing a black leather jacket and a light-colored shirt. They're in a room with a modern industrial feel, with exposed concrete or plaster on the ceiling and some interesting lighting. There's also a plant in the background, adding a touch of green to the space. Anything specific you'd like to know or explore?
Hey there. Sounds like quite the stylish scene. I'm already intrigued by the modern industrial vibe. Let's start with the person. Can you tell me more about their style? Are they doing anything interesting, like reading, working, or interacting with the space?
The person has a sleek and stylish look with their black leather jacket and light-colored shirt. Right now, they seem engaged with us, looking directly at the camera.
Yeah. So, what is the word that comes to your mind, Kuntal, when you see something like this?
I was just going to say from now on, it'll be doable for me to say my PA will get in touch with your PA and they'll figure out like what needs to happen, when we can talk, etc. But it's just again, like, right, it's limitless in terms of what you can kind of now think about. And it's really a matter of like, how do you choose to use everything that is at your disposal to become better? Like I really feel like, the updates and the products that were released just open up the realm of possibility, and it just fuels it, like at least it fuels my imagination on what it is, right? But what did you think of this one?
Well, if anyone from OpenAI was hearing this, they would say, yeah, that's why we called it OpenAI, not because it was open source or open, because it opens up possibilities. That's the reason. That's the reason.
Probably that's what it is. You're right.
Yeah, well, very frankly, the first thing that came to me when I was seeing this was, wow, this is like creepy, man. Okay, I mean, but that was just the first thing. But I mean, one of those was could see Greg Brockman, the other was on the table, and
Yeah.
the AI on the table was already kind of was talking to the AI which could see Greg Brockman. Okay, so one AI was blind in a sense, and it was
Yes.
asking the other, okay, describe me, whatever. And by the way, there's a similar demo for people who are interested. Can go look and on the web and you'll find it of this customer service thing that you spoke about. Okay.
Yes.
Except that in customer service, you would need to train it on your data. Okay. In this case, it kind of
Free flow.
fail through. Yeah. So amazing. And I think the O, many people have been wondering what the O in GPT-4 O stands for. And we're told that it's actually Omni. It's Omni model. So it's kind of runs
Oh,
it.
because it
Yeah,
captured.
video,
Okay.
audio,
Makes sense.
everything. Yeah. And in fact, one of the other phenomenal things which I've started doing, by the way, I posted something on LinkedIn today on a Microsoft report. And, whatever the prompt that I built, I fed that
Yeah.
prompt in GPT-4o and
Okay.
told it to create a picture of it. And that's the picture that went with my post. Okay. And so it can create pictures and,
Yes.
multiple things. But
Yeah.
anyway, enough about OpenAI. Let's go to your favorite company, which you're very impressed by, Kuntal, which is Google. And I know you had
Oh,
started talking about it a little bit, but you
yeah.
want to, I mean, I certainly have a take on it, but,
Yeah.
I would first, if there's other stuff that you might want to talk about from a Google perspective.
No, I mean, I think, Google in my mind has always been at the forefront of putting technology ahead, and but in a usable manner, right? I think that's something that I find, I can't move away from. I think while in all my years as a building algorithms and then getting into products, right? The one thing that always kind of sticks with me is that you can make cool stuff, but are you making stuff that people use and truly cannot live without, right? I cannot live without uh, most of my Google like products. And so that to me is a fundamental reason as to why Google or Alphabet or whatever it's called has always been like a favorite company. But I was getting a little worried last year when I saw what they were doing, or rather what they were not doing, right? And so this year I kind of feel like, okay, they're coming back, they've come back with a bang or whatever. It'll be interesting to see what actually comes out of it. I think that's my big question. I'm still skeptical, but I haven't saying that, okay, this is a wash off. But I think you wrote something about it,
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Google and the distribution, right?
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, and I don't know if you want to elaborate for the
yeah,
audience.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want me to do that? Yeah,
Yeah, I think so,
yeah.
because
I
I
mean,
think you
sorry.
can't get away from that.
Yeah, you can. And look, I'm still worried about Google. Okay. I mean, look, I obviously have a great deal of admiration, and I continue to believe, right from the beginning, even till now, that the only full stack AI powerhouse in this world is Google. Okay. They're the only people who have it from, right from the chips to the
Yeah,
applications and the talent and the large language models. No other, nor Microsoft, nor OpenAI, nor Apple, Amazon, whoever else has
yeah,
that. But what I sometimes get worried about is, the whole large company thing. Okay.
yes,
And what I kind of wrote about was that Google is the new Microsoft. Okay. Let me put it this way. Google is the new old Microsoft. Okay. Not the new
no, that
Microsoft
worries
now.
me.
Okay. No, seriously, because I was at Microsoft at that time when we were getting hammered by Google.
Yeah,
Okay. In the internet part. And, what is really happening is, I mean, it starts with the whole 2 hour video thing. Okay. It starts with this whole thing of just inundating people with hundreds of things so that they don't remember the one thing that you want them to. Okay.
yeah,
of continuous naming of products. For something happens with Bard, suddenly Bard goes away. Gemini Pro Ultra Nano, Gemini Pro Plus Ultra. The whole big company thing. And I
True.
think what Google has done, and again, what I wrote, Kuntal, was that I think in some sense they're borrowing from the Microsoft playbook, really, whether other voluntarily or otherwise. By the way, there are a lot of ex-Microsoft people at Google. Okay, and Microsoft used to have this playbook of what was called a triple E playbook. Okay, so uh, uh, I forget the first E, but the second was extend and the third was embrace. Okay, and extinguish. It
Distinguished.
was extinguish. Yeah, embrace, extend, extinguish. So they would build a product and then they would use their massive distribution to extend it to everything, give it off free,
Okay.
Like Teams and Slack. I mean, Teams
Yeah.
has 300 million plus users. Slack is 1/10 of that. Many people think Slack is a better product. Okay, and it's the innovator. It's the
Yeah.
OpenAI to Google, to Microsoft's alphabet in that sense. Uh, and the same playbook. So they would not out innovate competition, or they would out distribute them.
Which makes sense.
And when I see this thing, when I saw IO, the same thing came to me. That look,
Yeah.
let's kind of say that word 125 times, put it in every product that we have out there, every single product. We have billions of users across YouTube, Android, Mail, search, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know how to create great products. We don't need to kind of create something super innovative. It has to be good enough, and
Yes.
will win. And they might possibly do that. Okay, absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But that was the big takeaway for me.
No, you're right. I think I read somewhere recently that 65% of the browsers are Chrome. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, there you go, right? And I think 1 out of 4 email users are Gmail. I feel it must be much higher. And then not to mention search, Androids. It's just, I mean, it's a massive hook that they have. And the other thing also, honestly, I mean, if you think about it in a very different way, right? Maybe their approach is right because people may not know what to do with everything that comes up, right? So if they do go ahead and deploy it and stage it at the places that are most critical or that will have the most value, or let's say they also have to think about user design, right? Like how am I going to accept whatever is kind of coming in, or what is the format that I kind of accept it in? Then maybe there is a cadence that they're following. I mean, that's my optimistic lens, because I love the company. Of course, there's another part where it's like, okay, just too big, and maybe they're too gigantic, and there's obviously layers and bureaucracy. And I've been at one of those companies. I was at Yahoo, so I've seen what happens, when you're at a certain size and how that can actually impact you in a negative way. But I think, Google also may have another challenge which is going to come up, and in some ways very subtly kind of come up, and it's definitely come up in the and that's search. I mean, that's one of their biggest revenue generating products, and there's no doubt that AI is actually eating up is going to be a big threat, or is going to be I don't know whether it's necessarily going to be eating up search. It depends on to what extent you see the usage of ChatGPT or other like tools being adopted, right? As of right now, it's still not at scale. It's still like just a certain segment that's using it. But there are some stats that I read which I thought were very interesting and indicative of what this means. I think I read it, and I could have the numbers wrong, but this is roughly what it is. I think about 25% of search is set to kind of get taken over by AI by 2026. So that's around the corner. We're almost halfway through the year. And 2020, yeah, 20, no, sorry, 2026, about 20 to 60% of publishers are at risk with the AI generated search, right? So what is Google supposed to do? Do they kind of go ahead and get knockout innovative AI products into the field? Or do they kind of, have A-OK products, or like maybe not like the superior innovative AI products that we're kind of all fascinated by seeing from OpenAI, but have some level of AI sprinkling and not shake up their revenue?
Well, that's interesting. I've written a lot about this one, Kuntal, and not with this IO, but right from the beginning, we all know that transformers were invented at Google. Okay, and they did frankly nothing about it. Okay, in 2017, that famous paper, "Attention is All You Need," and they actually did nothing about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and Basically because they feared cannibalization, as you said, of their business model. Okay, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the best brains at Google right now are sitting trying to figure out how to build an advertising model in generative AI, which I personally think will be the worst thing that could happen. Okay, because again, we'll have that same old thing of, the it becoming an advertiser's product rather than a consumer's
I
product.
think this is
And
what-
that's where Google, in my opinion, has gone wrong. They
Yeah.
started as a consumer's product and they've become an advertiser's product. The Perplexity guy actually said it very well. And he said that the same unit, okay, which
I
the
saw
answer
that.
that you gave, yeah, is suppose that the truth, unit of truth. Is it like for the consumer or for the advertiser? It's the same unit of truth when you put that answer. And
Yeah.
that's core, that's fundamental. Look, I'm always with the new guys, okay, however much I like a company. So I'm rooting for OpenAI. They've got lots of things wrong, but I'm always with the challengers. Okay. And we need to have these challengers that will make the big guys build their products better and hopefully
Of course.
pivot to, moving from just an advertiser thing to but that also, and Vivek has reminded me in the chat today. So we had this riff, Kuntal, earlier, where I had actually predicted, wrongly, obviously, that Sundar would lose his job by March 31st of this year. Well, so March 31st has come and gone. I do believe there's a leadership issue there.
You're
Okay.
not the only one. I think a lot of people had actually brought this up, especially when was it the release of, I forget now, the release of the last one of the models, which had all these like really weird images coming up. If you'd like, you'd write in like a Nazi
I think it was
figure.
Gemini 1.56 Pro Ultra Nano.
Yeah. And I was just like, I couldn't understand also how that happened, right? Because, I mean, it's one thing to hallucinate, but this was a response around actual facts, like this is history. And Google has, in that sense, like loads and loads of information to mine. So I couldn't understand what was happening over there. And I remember lots of people saying that, oh, he's going to lose his job. This was just like a big disaster.
No, I think what was happening there, in my opinion, was that they're a big company. They need to keep their reputation. And so the safety guys went wild. And there were too many of the, safety and, so you need to have diversity, you need to have, and so, yeah,
The woke
yeah, in a sense. And, therefore you had black founding fathers, etc. Because in any group of people, possibly there was an instruction that at least a couple of them had to be diverse or whatever it is. But Vivek, I think just to answer your question, since there's a question which is out there that does Sundar have his job back? I don't think so. I think it's still in it's still out there. Maybe he's still on trial, in my opinion. And that was the second thing, Kuntal, which I mean, I know I'm kind of being a little biased here, but that was the second thing. Great tech companies don't do videos; they do demo. Okay.
That's true.
Okay. And
I
the
was
same,
just
yeah, so they do demos. Like I was seeing the OpenAI thing, and I finished seeing that, and I look at my phone. I open the app, and there's GPT-4 right there. Okay,
yes.
like live right there. Okay, and that was to me the most wow thing.
You
Uh,
could do it right there and then, whatever you'd see. You're absolutely
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I'm going to ignore the question from Deepak here, which is for you, Kuntal, since it kind of is more about your
I
entrepreneurial journey.
saw that. I saw that. Maybe another time. Deepak, thank you so much. Would love to chat about it. Maybe another time. More than happy to share my entrepreneurship woes and challenges and everything. So, it'll be an exciting one.
But this actually, I did want to ask you this, Kuntal, since you have been an entrepreneur. But if suppose you were to kind of restart or start your entrepreneurial journey today, okay,
Yeah.
after seeing all this new stuff, okay, which is out
Yeah.
there, okay, what do you think are the areas which you would look at and what you would encourage people to look at as you kind of see all of this stuff?
So, interestingly enough, I've also been pinged by a lot of people to see how ChatGPT can help them. And these are young entrepreneurs, right? And I mean, as young as like 16 and 15. And, someone is like doing some ghee business or something like that, like a different creator, right? So, but it's amazing. But I think they've gotten that confidence that they can be helped because they have a tool like ChatGPT. I think there are multiple things, to be honest. One is just literally having the ability to have brainstorming partner, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're constantly dealing with just what do I put out there faster, quicker, right? So content, for example, the worst thing possible for founders to kind of think about when it comes to marketing, when it comes to just going ahead and putting stuff out there just to get started, right? It's easy now to kind of have things come in, design, basically everything that you'd want to kind of get started, have certain roles can get taken over by, AI. How to think about your product, marketing, how to, you know, let's say look at fundraising, all of this. Now, the only caveat that I have in any of this is that I think what everybody has to keep in mind is just like you have access to all these tools, so does everybody else, right? So it doesn't like reduce or take away your own like need to do stuff or to put in your own like brain power. It's just literally looking at it as a co-pilot, a thinking partner, a content, or maybe in some cases also a extremely brilliant, young, inexperienced person who's come in and can potentially do stuff. It does not mean that you cannot sit and walk away from all the things that you need to do, right? But there's a whole bunch of things. For example, I have uploaded spreadsheets, data, and had like crunching happen through ChatGPT. So yes, earlier maybe I would have done it. Now I've gone ahead and had that done. So you're getting time back.
Yep. I created a logo which I really loved with 4O actually because of the whole multimodal thing.
Yeah.
Before yesterday, we were planning to start a little bit of something, a club or something. And it was just amazing. And, that's another story which we can talk about someday. But, just as we wrap up, Kuntal, I had one question for you. And if you have something for me, that's great.
I
But
do.
you do? Okay, fine. Let me ask. Okay, why don't you ask first?
So I've heard about what has gotten you really excited, from the updates from last week. What has gotten you very scared and nervous?
4-letter answer. Can I give you a 4-word answer?
Sure.
Okay, it's Ilya. Okay, so,
Okay.
yeah, but we didn't come around to talking about that. We will, it's a
Yeah.
separate topic, but that's basically it. I think there's so much excitement, so much happiness, if I may say so, all around. Everyone is buzzing, everything is happening. Microsoft has an event planned in a few hours. Okay, they couldn't, so I think they're going to unveil some new stuff also. NVIDIA is coming in a few hours after that. Okay, and so it's this constant thing. And what we are forgetting, and what happened with the Elia thing was that he basically, it seems, quit because, the safety part, the responsibility part, what they call alignment and what they were calling super alignment, been thrown out the window, absolutely. Okay, or a glass door. But, and that, it seems to be happening everywhere. And so that movement, which had started about building IT safety right up front, AI safety right up front, seems to be massively diluting. And
Yes.
capitalism is kind of gaining the upper ground yet again. And that's what makes me very scared, frankly.
No, and that's
Yeah.
very valid. I personally think the only way that there will be some level of responsible AI or safety, the way that you're thinking about, will be through government. I don't think corporates will have the least bit of interest in regulating or putting the brakes on what is happening because the aspect of capitalism is too high. You've seen it with social media, right? I mean, there's been so much about Instagram, Facebook, social media being so dangerous for adults and kids alike. It's not stopped anybody. It's finally now, regulations are coming into play where they're trying to say something, do something. My sense is that that's what we might see even with AI. I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah. So let me just ask you my question, and then we'll wrap up with my final video. But the
Sure.
question, so obviously Ray Kurzweil wrote this book called "The Singularity is Near," and then
Yes.
GPT and all, he's writing, I believe, a book saying the singularity is nearer. Okay,
Yeah.
now we've seen stuff which happened last week. So
Yeah.
what do you think? I mean, you really think we're accelerating our path towards this mythical thing or not?
So, for me, a lot of things that happen in technology are something that when it happens, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, this was meant to be, right? So I actually do think yes, it is going to happen. Uh, I think my questions are about how and when. Like I do believe there's going to be some government intervention that will come in. I don't think it will be like, hello, here we are, and all that. There's just too much at risk. There'll be like a lot of panic that will happen in terms of you think about singularity in the true form. So I think there's going to be some sort of intervention. But also, now I'm kind of also like flipping it into, I wanted to kind of share a little bit about what happened last year, or maybe a little earlier. I was sitting with my nephew, who at that time was 10 years old. And he was like looking at ChatGPT for the first time, right? So then he first did write a story, and it did a story, something. Then he wrote something, explain E equal to MC square. So some like explanation came, and then he was like, Then he's like, I didn't understand this. Then again, another explanation came, and then he was like, oh. Then he himself, and I wasn't guiding him because I was just very curious to see how is he interacting, right? And then he wrote, explain this concept to me as you would to a 9-year-old child, right? So my nephew understood how to think about the prompt without anyone guiding him, without anyone telling him. And I feel he naturally understood how to interact with the machine. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And so I feel like that stage is very near, right? Where our ability of human man interaction is around the corner. Singularity, I think, is there. It's going to happen. I think there will be a lot of interesting so-called either roadblocks or stumbling aspects, not because of technology, but because of other elements that impact us. I don't think it'll be technology that's preventing singularity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's exactly what I think we started with, saying that, look, this distance between, or the friction between man and machine or human and machine is kind of becoming non-existent. And to me, as I said, singularity is actually going to be, this dual working together to become far better than, just A becoming better than B or B becoming better than
Yes.
C. Jeffrey Hinton, by the way, has today morning has basically said, look, it's going to happen. It's going to take away all jobs. And he's told the British government to start looking at universal basic income. So there are lots of voices there. But I wanted to end on a really positive note here, Kuntal, and really think, we sometimes get into this doomsday scrolling on
That's true.
AI. And how this human plus machine can actually do some amazing things. So Selvin, the last video, please, of the last slide 4, which I think to me, I mean, while the Brockman thing was like the most intriguing, this one was the most redeeming in that sense. So Selvin, if you can play the 4th one, please.
I even know when a taxi is coming with its orange light on. I think I'll hail it to get home.
This is a blind man.
Yes, I spotted one just now. It's heading your way on the left side of the road. Get ready to wave it down. Great job hailing that taxi. It looks like you're all set to go. That's a good dog right there, leading the way into the taxi. Safe travels.
So be my eyes. Okay, now this guy, and this is a long video, I just showed one small part of it. But this guy is visually impaired. He has a guide dog. So it's actually here, the fun part is it's not just AI and human being, it's AI, human being, and an animal. Okay,
Yes.
and all three working together. And he kind of will be my eyes. It says that the flag is on top of Buckingham Palace, and so the king is inside, which he would never have known. And then finally, and few other things, how many ducks are there in the pond, etc. What are they doing? But eventually, I mean, the simple job of hailing a taxi.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you see the full video, the AI actually recognizes that there's an orange light on top, which means that the taxi is empty, and says
Yeah.
that, you know what, now it's just coming, so you can hail it, and he does, and So I think this is what is the promise, in a sense, of AI.
And
Uh,
it's beautiful. I think
yeah,
it's
and
that's
absolutely,
what it means when you're like, we often think accessibility in a very, like, I feel, a very short form kind of way, like more languages. I'm like, okay, you know what? That's not that doesn't really matter, right? But now this is accessibility to someone that would have never even thought about it. So
absolutely,
it's just amazing. So that's why it
absolutely.
opens up possibilities.
Super. Thank you so much, Kuntal, and thanks for everyone who joined. Because Vivek wasn't there, there weren't that many questions for whatever reason. But
Okay.
but hopefully we'll have more next time. And we kind of try and keep a fortnightly cadence to that, primarily because of my own uh, schedules. We don't do that, but hopefully next fortnight we'll also be there. And in one of those fortnights, Kuntal and I have planned a very uh, interesting bit around AI beauty pageants and AI human relationships, etc. So watch out for that. Probably not next time, but in the coming weeks. But thanks, Kuntal. Thanks for your time. And I
Thank
know
you
you
so much
had a
for
little bit of an accident, which an AI could have helped you avoid. But
I think so.
despite
I think
that,
so. No, thank you so much. It was great to be here. It was fun always talking to you.
thank you. Thanks, Kuntal. Bye bye.
Bye.